Hey, what's up? It's your boy, 24/7 here with 24/7 Fusion Media. This was something that was sent from Fat Steven Seagal. When I saw this, I knew that I couldn't walk away from it. There's a podcast called Women at Warp. It says here they're a Roddenberry Star Trek podcast. That's interesting. We're going to see what they're about real quick. Our podcast, let's see. Now, about Women at Warp. Women at Warp is a groundbreaking bi-weekly podcast committed to examining Star Trek from a feminist perspective, exploring intersectional diversity in infinite combinations with a rotating crew of 7 hosts. Tune in for everything from episode and character analysts to history of women behind the scenes and in fan culture to discussing of larger themes and messages throughout the franchise. All right, so now that we've seen that, let's go back to our story at hand. So, Women at Warp decided to write a letter that titles Another Open Letter to the Star Trek Community. Now, y'all follow me with this. To the Star Trek community, we need to talk again. There have been goings on within our community that threaten to destroy the very foundation of the fandom. This very real and present threat exists in more places than previously believed, and as such needs to be addressed again. Earlier this year, Miranda Deborah crafted an open letter to the Star Trek community imploring those within it to do hard work of the deconstructing harmful narratives and practices against BIPOC, that's Black and Indigenous People of Color. I want y'all to think about that. This open letter not only recounted the author's own painful experiences in the fandom, but implored folks who held positions of power to be actively anti-racist in everything that they do going forward. So hear me out. Seems like an organization that's here telling Star Trek people to stop being racist. Now, if you know anything about Star Trek, there's nothing racist about Star Trek. Nothing at all. Star Trek is the most diverse thing that's ever been put out there. Even to the point that Kirk and Uhura kissing was the first white man and black woman to kiss on national TV. I mean, come on now. This thing broke barriers. Hell, even when Nichelle Nichols was going to quit, Dr. Martin Luther King came to her and told her, don't quit, because if you do, who's going to be there to represent our peoples? So he talked her into staying on. And she stayed on all the way to the end. So this looks like something that I'm going to get into, but we're going to read more about this. It says, this should be a no-brainer for Trekkers. The whole entire point of Gene Roddenberry envisioning humanity in the future was to explore the full potential of what we can achieve and learn how those actions can serve to better us as a species. Many doors have been opened and boundaries shattered in the wake of Star Trek's influence, but there seems to be a collective of individuals who refuse to adapt alongside the evolution of our society. This group has lost its domineering visibility within the Trek universe and is reacting to such with vehemence that frankly has no place here. I wonder who she's talking about. Yes, Discovery is decidedly void of cisgender, heterosexual, Caucasian men this season. Y'all heard that? I'm going to repeat that again. It says, yes, Discovery has decidedly void of cisgender, heterosexual, Caucasian men this season. I want y'all to think about that. Cis-het white men are both seen and featured in most other forms of media, so why are so many getting so bent out of shape that other groups finally have the spotlight? What? The privileged will always feel oppressed when others gain access to that privilege. In fact, equality often feels like oppression to someone who has benefited from the oppression of others. But what this collection of people and their bruised egos fail to realize is that this sort of change is absolutely crucial to the development of humanity here and now. There is no guaranteed future for humanity, especially if we can't bring ourselves to do the hard work of self-reflection in the present. Wow. Basically, Star Trek Discovery, Star Trek show that's out now on CBS All Access and all this bullshit, is void of cisgender, heterosexual, Caucasian men this season. That right there is racist, form of racism. And these people with the BIPOC and how they're spinning this and running this are going to sit there and say that they're doing this for the betterment, the development of humanity. And they're taking their stand here on the Star Trek TV show with this bullshit. Right now, our entertainment is being attacked, brainwashed, force-fed, and just fucked over by people like this that are sitting here and looking at something that's purely entertainment, purely entertainment, made for everybody. Men, women, kids, old folks alike. No matter what creed, what color, no matter if you're short, tall, big, or small. It doesn't matter if you have disabilities or not, sicknesses or not. If it has everything at all or even nothing. This show is for all of that and everything in between. And you're here to tell me that folks are feeling privileged. And that's why this show, Star Trek Discovery, that most everybody I know hates, can't stand, or just doesn't want anything to do with. Won't even support it. And then what people say that are in conjunction with this bullshit is like, you know what, if you don't support Star Trek Discovery, then you must support all the other shit that we're against. No, it's not that. I just that's the thing. I don't support hate. I don't support hate. So how can I go with this bullshit that you're talking about? Even, you know, this group, this Women at Warp. This is Women at Warp. This is what they believe in. And they're using that black and indigenous people of color as what's fueling this rageful bullshit. So, it says here, it brings to mind a quote from everyone's favorite Vulcan, Ambassador Spock: "Change is the essential process of all existence." Famed astrophysicist Carl Sagan went on to accentuate the sentiment in a much more ominous matter. Extinction is the rule, survival is the exception. If we cannot bring ourselves to change the way we treat others and or the way we view ourselves and our roles in this society, we can definitely ensure the longevity of our existence. Each his own. Yes, Discovery, Picard, and Lower Decks are not your grandmother's Trek, depending on your age bracket. Those shows aren't even your mother's Trek. But guess what? They were never supposed to be. The world has changed and everyone has changed with it. So why should a functional construct like Star Trek remain the same as well? Instead of yearning for the homogeneity of yesterday, why not adapt and adjust to the multifaceted, radiant, and sparkling jewel of the present? actually the present with all this extra, intersectional feminism and all this identity politics and trying to insert all this wokeness and this bullshit into our entertainment is not making it entertainment and is basically making it present life right now. So basically we get to see today's bullshit in Star Trek. That's not what we want. And if you think that's what it takes, then you're not really the Star Trek fans that you say you are. And I'm talking to women at Warp. Now it says here, deconditioning will always be difficult work. It could be messy, ugly at times, and forces us to confront ideals that we may have been harboring for any number of reasons. But whatever the reasons, bigotry and prejudice were instilled in us, it is our responsibility as human beings to do the work to combat the wretchedness of xenophobia. What the fuck? See, now it sounds like somebody's guilty of being prejudiced. Now they're telling everybody, hey, we all have it. We all have this prejudice within ourselves. We're all born with this. We all have this. Now it's up to you to deconstruct and change your ways. Man, I tell you what, when I was being raised, my parents didn't, no one told me, hey, this is white, this is black, this is this is that. It was always the rule of thumb that you treat people how they treat you. And you treat everybody fairly. People are different, but it doesn't mean that, one is better than the other. That's where the equality thing comes at. But this seems to be on some old real racist shit right here. So now, when I talk about racist shit, check this out. It is also our unspoken duty as Star Trek fans to set the example. Otherwise, how dare we call ourselves followers of this Roddenberryan philosophy? How can we claim to be fans of this groundbreaking work of art if we don't embody its principles? We emphasize and reiterate Miranda Desbroux's call for all white members of the Star Trek community, creators, platforms, curators, prominent fans and figures, including and especially Star Trek cast members, past and present, who believe in the underlying mission and vision of the Star Trek to formally denounce all forms of racism and bigotry, and those who uphold such adherent beliefs. I call on you to condemn the actions of those who have harmed Black and Indigenous people and all people of color, BIPOC, again. And I call on you to strive to do more and do better in the sake of BIPOC in both Star Trek community and in your own lives who have been subjected to racism. Finally, I encourage you to urge your supporters in this community to do the same, particularly those who are now finally waking up to the injustice perpetrated against BIPOC. So basically, a lot of this came up when everything happened with George Floyd. A lot of this popped up. And people are going in hard saying, you know what? This the kind of shit that's been going on in Star Trek all along. Not once have I ever heard anything racist about Star Trek. From the fandom, from cast members, crews, anything that was done on the shows, nothing. And now they're sitting here saying, hey, this is what's been in our fandom, and we call on everybody involved in Star Trek to denounce your racism. Okay, so what happens if you weren't racist to begin with? And that's the thing. If you're a Star Trek fan, we see a lot of this in the same way, that it was never a thing of race. Because they showed all kind of different races and and they did it in so many different ways. But it would, of course it'd get boring if it's always a white and black thing. So of course they brought in aliens and a bunch of other shit. But the whole thing of being different and having issues, with folks because of your differences, and coming to an understanding and try to understand how that whole that whole dynamics works. They've been doing that since the beginning. And now it's being said here that something has changed. And that there's all this racism and there's all this bullshit. I just think they call them for wolf tickets. Like, who are they supposed to be dragging out and fucking cast into the fire with this shit? Who are they talking to? And that's the thing. If they're gonna go so far to say this and say, hey, this is what's been going on, why don't they name names? Who's been acting like this? If it's a group of people, show me who these group of people are. If there's a certain branch of Star Trek of a Star Trek community that we don't know about, that's up to no good. See, that shit sounds fucking ridiculous. So it says here, the crew of women at Warp believe in and continue to uphold the importance of the philosophy intersectional diversity in infinite combinations. Members of marginalized communities will not fade silently into the wings once the pandemic is over. You may be uncomfortable, but we implore you all as fans and as humans to do the work. It's sloppy and painful, but it will always, always be worth it. What work are we supposed to be doing for you? What are you asking us to do? To go and weed out what? To go find who that said what and did what? See, I love Star Trek, but what I want y'all to understand is this. I want you to understand this, that this group of people right here, they don't stand for shit. Their message is all wrong. It's not how you're supposed to look at this. Now you're saying, oh, everything is white folks' fault. Some real racist shit. I got friends of all creed and color, and not gonna sit here and stand for this. But this is our women at Warp, so there you go. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this bullshit in the comment section below. Do you agree with them? Do you see the racist and the bigotry and all this other shit that's happening in Star Trek and within folks' own lives that they need to correct and stand up to the plate and denounce? It's like they're addressing something, but who are they talking to? I don't know, man. I don't agree with this. I don't. If you're sitting here trying to denounce racism, I don't think calling out cisgendered white male and all this other bullshit, I don't think that's the way to start. If you think, if you're trying to fix a problem, I don't think starting there is gonna fix anything. So y'all let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Please share, like, and subscribe if you haven't already. It's your boy 24/7 with 24/7 Fusion Media, and I'm out. Peace.